My name is Donna, and I'm here because I want to tell you about my experience that I'm having with my health insurance company. I've had the same health insurance in force since 1999. Same policy, same plan, with the Crockett County Farm Bureau, Tennessee Farm Bureau Health Services, Tennessee Rural Health. They've changed their name multiple times or call themselves something different. Right now I think they're calling themselves Farm Bureau Health Plans. But regardless, I've had the same plan in effect since 1999 on a bank draft. They have never not gotten my money. Everything was good up until about 2021, and the rates just started going through the roof. And so I chose, after they sent me about 10 letters, to raise my deductible from 300, which I'd had for 20 years, 20 plus years, to $2,500, because I did some math and the savings in premium, and I could just put that money aside, and it just looked like the smart thing to do, being that I was not going to have my benefits reduced at all or lose any coverages. It's the same insurance. I just got a higher deductible, which means higher family deductible, higher maximum out of pockets, which I was good with. Everything ticked along fine. Back in 2020, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there, my husband started experiencing some hearing loss, so he started seeing a doctor about this hearing loss, trying to figure out what's going on with his hearing. We had this insurance. This insurance is paid for audiologist visits and ENTs and MRIs and all the things that they do to diagnose hearing loss. He did not have any success in finding out what was causing his hearing loss in his right ear. They said sometimes that happens. There's nothing they can pinpoint. Anyway, he could hear in his other ear, so it wasn't that big of a deal until now. Now he started losing hearing in his other ear. His right ear, that original one, has been completely deaf. He has lost hearing gradually over the years till he can hear nothing out of that ear, and hasn't been able to for a few years. But he could hear out of his left ear, so he was okay. He gets up one morning in the spring and he's like, I can hear. I cannot hear out of this ear. I can't hear. And he's having to look at me when I talk. He can't hear the TV. He can't hear the radio. It's an issue. So I make him an appointment with ENT and to start checking again, see what's going on. What can we do? Because we don't need to lose hearing in the one ear we can hear out of. So we went through all of the stuff, multiple audiologist tests, ENT looking in there, poking around. There's nothing, that they can see. They do an MRI. Nothing on the MRI. Nothing in his brain. Nothing in there that should stop him from being able to hear, but he can't hear. So they decided to try some hearing aids, and they want to do this crossover system where the one on the ear that he can't hear in is basically just a microphone and sends all the information to the other side, but then the hearing aid works for the other side. They put those on him. It's supposed to come back in 2 weeks, where they tweak and fix them and make your brain work with them and all that kind of stuff. And when he comes back, he's just like, I can hear. I could hear when we left here, but I can't hear. And they say they do another round of audiology testing, and they say his hearing has decreased since he was here 2 weeks ago. And at that time, they're like, we need to stop. These hearing aids are no good. We need to take them back where they're still in the trial. You can get your money back period, because insurance wasn't paying for them, which was okay. I was prepared to pay for hearing aids. And we need to refer you to Vanderbilt, because we think, you might be a candidate for Cochlear implant. So we made the appointment, went right on to Vanderbilt. They did all of their testing. They took the MRI that we brought with us that had just happened, and said he needs a cochlear implant. There's a certain percentage of people that this happens to, and with no explanation, and you're it. So we're ready because he cannot lose his hearing. He drives for a living. He needs to hear. So besides just your general quality of life and what losing a sense does to you overall. So we don't even want to go there. We need to get this fixed. So the plan was to do a cochlear implant in the ear that was completely deaf. And then when all that is settled and working and all the mapping is done with that, then they get a hearing aid that will work with that cochlear implant so he has hearing in both ears. So they call the insurance to get a pre-certification for the surgery, and the insurance company says not covered. Excluded benefit. We won't cover that. It's medically necessary, and he's losing something that he's had. It's like, and I'm like, wait a minute. If you get your arm cut off, is reattaching your arm not covered? That doesn't make sense to me. So when they told me that it wasn't covered, and I just thought that was just incredulous. I decided, well, I'll just appeal it. And so we come back home from Vanderbilt, and I start the next 2 weeks getting on the telephone, called the insurance company, called the local, who would transfer me to the state, who would transfer me to the UMR, who is now the administrator of this plan. It used to be Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Tennessee, and then at some point it became UMR, and I don't know how that happened, but I've had the same plan in force. That's just the way it is. They kept giving me different dates. I was like, when was this excluded? And I've had this since 1999, and he's had hearing loss since 2010 or whatever. And when did it become excluded? And they gave me all sorts of dates from 2012 to 2013 to 2019 to 2024 to 2015. I've got about 6 or 7 dates written down in this one of the pages in this massive book of information I've compiled over the last month. So I couldn't get a straight answer as to when it was excluded. Local was telling me something, and state was telling me something, and UMR was telling me something else. And somebody in all of that writing, and I have it written down in my notes because I have a whole section on notes from my phone calls, said it was the one person who was actually going back and digging and trying to find when it was put on there. And she was like, oh, here it is. This language is strange. This, what does that mean? Strange language. I don't know. It was put in there at some point, and at that point I didn't know when it was put in there or how they could even do that, but they did. So I was going to file an appeal, and I looked up how you file an appeal, and the first thing you got to have is a denial letter. Well, I don't have a denial letter because we were just trying to get a pre-certification. So I called the insurance company, and I said, I need something. They could tell me they saw where we tried to get a pre-certification, but they won't give me anything in writing saying they told the doctor that it was not covered, it's denied, we're not going to pay for this. And so I called the doctor, and I thought, I'll just get them to give me a copy of what they have. Well, it's nothing in writing. It was over the phone. So I hit a wall there. I'm like, the first thing they require from me is a exclusion or we're not going to cover this letter to file for a grievance, and they refuse to give it to me. That's their own rules. So anyway, I went around in circles for about another week on the phone trying to get something from somebody, and I finally said, to heck with it. I'm going to file it without it, and I'm going to put as part of my grievance that they require something that they refuse to give me, which is exactly what they did. So long story short, I spent the next 2-3 weeks digging. I had papers that went all the way back to 2013. I have letters. I have all sorts of stuff. I dug up everything I could find, and any gaps I thought I needed to fill, I made a phone call, and some I got answered, a lot of them I didn't. they would get to a point and they'd say, "Oh, I can't see anything beyond that. That's not. I don't know. I don't know." Somebody even said there's a lot of things happened when it went from Blue Cross Blue Shield to UMR. So I don't know how that worked. So I never could really get a straight answer on the date or exactly what it said or when it said, because I don't know. It seemed like to me that they didn't have anything to look at that they could read me, send me, tell me. And while I was asking these questions, one of them was nice enough to email me in real time while we were talking. She sent me the grievance thing, said, "You need to file a grievance and you need to write that, we can't give you this information in the grievance." So that's what I did. Now, mind you, the first level of grievance is the company taking a complaint on themselves. It's like me being the CEO and you calling to complain about me to me. So I don't know. I didn't have much faith in them doing anything with it at that level, but I did it anyway because you got to start somewhere. So back to this book. So I started gathering stuff, organizing. I sent them about this thick by certified mail I wouldn't say a binder, a large manila envelope full. It was cataloged and itemized and indexed and had a table of contents, and it'd have a cover sheet and have what's behind it, and it was, here's my problem and here's all the reasons I think that I shouldn't have this problem, and this is what I want you to do about it, which is basically what they send you a sheet of paper and they give you about this much space that you're supposed to put what your problem is, and I just, in that space, I put "see attached" and I sent it. So I did. I took it to the post office. I mailed it certified. In about 2.5-3 weeks, I got a letter in the mail from them. Just this week. It's dated July the 2nd. I think it got here maybe the 5th or 6th. Anyway, and it basically says, "We're denying what you want." So they've acknowledged that, I don't know, it seems like they didn't want a paper trail, but by this and, well, just by picking up my letter, we've established a paper trail. It says in here, if I can write them and ask them for more information on how they came to this free of charge, or I can call our member service number. And believe you me, that's the first thing I did, is pick up and call the member service number, only to get zero information. You call them and they switch you around and around and around and around and around, and it's just like, we don't know. And so, never mind, I'll just write the letter. So I decided, instead of going immediately into the second round grievance, which I have 90 days to do according to them here, I would ask them for some more information in order to do my second round of grievance, because the second round of grievance goes before a totally different panel of people outside of their company, what I understand. So what I need to know is when it became excluded, exactly a date, a definitive date. And I asked for that in my original grievance, and they sent me some photocopied pages from out of one of these books that had effective January 2024, and it had a highlighted part about hearing aids weren't covered and anything to do with your hearing. And then they sent me some more copies of pages that were very similar, looked just like them, except the date at the bottom of them was effective January 2026. Same information on it. So I don't know if that is there when it started, and here you are now declaration. I don't know, but with the here you are now one, that's when they reduced my benefits to 70% and raised my deductible to $8,000 without my consent, and told me I can go back through underwriting and have all of my medical history held against me, and and get back my 80% coverage. Right. That just seems totally off the wall to me. Because in looking, they keep calling themselves a grandfathered, let me find I've got several letters with this grandfathered insurance plan. You are a grandfathered, and they make out like that's this great thing. You are grandfathered. Please be assured. We're, everything's wonderful. Grandfathered. So if I'm grandfathered, then they fit within that caveat of insurance companies when the ACA went into effect, that basically the law says there was a certain date in whenever it started that said, if you want to be grandfathered, you got to stay where you are right now. You cannot take any coverages away. You cannot jack these people's, put a bigger burden on them, which was what they've done all along, because they've started, I went from a 300 to a 2400 to a 3500 to a 50 something to a 70 something to now I'm at $8,000 with all of those out of pocket expenses and all of my copays going up all along the way. So they are constantly putting more burden on me. But that's beside the point right now. I didn't know that they weren't supposed to do any of that, because they're claiming grandfathered plan status, grandfathered plan. And I have not just these two, I've got at least a half a dozen more with that grandfathered plan written on it that I know of. And I've got a giant box. I'm sure I can dig out some more. But if they're going to claim grandfathered plan status, they've got to operate within grandfathered plan rules, laws. It's a law. And it looks like to me they haven't, or they're not. And also the law says once they stop doing that, then they have to become ACA compliant. If they are ACA compliant, they've got to pay for a medically necessary cochlear implant. So, which is it? Are you grandfathered and you excluded benefits when you weren't supposed to? Or are you ACA compliant? But you're not. I mean, they say bad things about the ACA sideways in here a couple of times, like, oh, it's, be glad you're staying with us, but whatever. Anyway, so there's a law, and I have the exact language of that law, or how you can look it up, and I will put that in the description underneath here. I'm just figuring out how to do all this stuff, so just bear with me, but it will be down there, that information. And if you know of anything that will help me, now it doesn't necessarily have to be a cochlear implant issue, but if you had a problem with Farm Bureau insurance and a grandfather plan and them excluding something, I want to know about it, because it's the same thing. What'd you do? How'd it come out? And if there are any other avenues I need to take, I have filed information in order to do the second level grievance with Tennessee Farm Bureau insurance, health insurance. I have filed with the state. I've filed with the federal government. I have also sent a letter to Cochlear America, I think it is, about what do you do? It's the company he was going to use, the company we wanted to get the implant from. Surely we can't be the only people in the world who have had it denied by insurance. What do people do? I called Vanderbilt and they said it's a $115,000 estimate for the surgery. Now, that's probably the surgery, then that's not even counting the implant. So, I don't know. We're looking at a couple $100,000, I'm sure. And I've been paying, I will remind you, I've been paying this insurance since 1999 and it's supposed to cover medically necessary stuff. And here's where I am. So, having said all of that, I'm waiting now on just their response. The response where I sent 4 certified letters to all of these people at Tennessee Farm Bureau asking for information and also to their chief compliant officer about whether or not they're compliant with the rules on being a grandfather plan. And it's not that I'm not giving the benefit of the doubt. I gave them the benefit of the doubt with my first grievance, and I'm going to move ahead with other avenues so that I just have all things going at once. We can't wait till he goes deaf. We need to get this done now. This is, I don't know, it's just what's right. And it's everything that's wrong with insurance in this country is just right here in a nutshell. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will post as I get updates, letters, phone calls, emails, anything in the mail, and definitely when I go to my second round of grievance and what goes from there. In the meantime, in the next day or two, I'm going to post a couple of things about just general things I found out when I was looking at this that I didn't know, that people need to know. So just kind of watch for that, and reach out if you have any information that can help me. And I hope that my information that I'm going to put out there is going to help somebody else, because we're all in this together. And Farm Bureau, can you hear me now? Bye, y'all.